when I was working in the government, I also had to go to the UN. I spoke there about the CPP, NPA, NDF, and we saw with our very own eyes the propaganda that there was 27,000 EJKs, deaths by the war on drugs. But now look, they're now in the Hague, and they can't even come up with 50. Okay, so they hyperinflate, and it's the same
Right.
thing. It's the same thing that they've done to this issue. Like you said, no, we're not denying that it happened, but they definitely lied about a lot of things to
Exactly.
inflame
Yeah.
so that they could recruit, and then so that they could get some funds, because this
Yeah.
organization is one of the biggest criminal syndicates in the world.
Lahat ng surveys na lumalabas para 2028, even though this early, lumalabas na siya ang front runner, siya ang top notcher. Kaya makikita mo talaga na demolition job itong ginagawa. Wala silang pwedeng mailabas na kalaban na malakas for 2028. So, demolish na. So, they try to remove her by impeachment. Kasi ang plano talaga, makikita mo na gusto nila i-disqualify siya para hindi na siya eligible to run for public office, particularly in 2028.
Naku po mga ka-update, hindi ito usapin ng accountability o confidential funds. Ito ay isang lantarang political elimination strategy gaya ho ng babala nitong si Congressman Isidro Ungap, isang veteranong mambabatas. Mga ka-update, ang impeachment na laban kay VP Sara Duterte ay walang ibang layunin kundi hindi po tanggalin ang pinakamalakas na banta sa ambisyon ng iilan para sa 2028. Lalo na mga kabita, ito si VP Sara, tatakbo ho yan. Inanunsyo ho ang kanyang pagtakbo bilang pagkapangulo. Ito ho yung kinatatakot ng mga mambabatas diyan sa mababang kabulungan. Kaya mga kabit, bakit ngayon? Bakit sunod-sunod? Simple lang ho. Dahil si VP Sara, mga kabita, ang nananatili hong balakid o alam nyo na, kontra dito sa administrasyon sa halip na paglingkuran ng ating bayan at resolbahin ang mataas na presyo ng bilihin, lahat mga kabit, bilihin, petrolyo, lahat-lahat inuuna ho ng mga kongreso ang pag-atake dito sa ating vice presidente. Gaya nga ng sinabi ni Congressman Ungab, mga kapdita, ang impeachment ay naging isang fishing expedition. Naghahanap po sila ng butas kung saan-saan wala ho silang matibay na ebidensya, mga kapdita. Ano ho ang kanilang layunin? Hindi ang katotohanan, kundi ho madungisan ang pangalan ng isang Duterte na alam naman nating hindi ho natitinag ang kanyang prinsipyo. O hindi ho natitinag si Vice President Sara Duterte sa mga katulad ho ng mga nandiyan, katulad ni Luis Tro, hindi ho yan paparawarak mga kabdita. Kaya mga kabdita, natatakot na ho sila sa 2028. Alam naman ho nila na pagdating ng eleksyon, ang mga kabdita, ang suporta ho ng ating mga kababayan ng milyon-milyon Pilipino ay nasa panig pa rin ho ng tunay na nagmamalasakit sa mga ating kababayan. Kaya ang solusyon ho nila, huwag nang paabutin pa ho sa halalan. I-eliminate na ho ngayon. Kaya nga dito, ito ang pinakahihintay natin. Panalangin na lang ho natin si Sara Duterte, ang ating Vice President. Kasi mga kabdit, nanganganib pa rin ho ang kanyang kalagayan, lalo na power tripping ho ang administrasyon. Hindi lang ho itong si VP Sara ang ating pag-uusapan. Bakit ho natin nasabing hindi lang si VP Sara? Nakikita niyo ho ba yan mga kabdit? Ayan ho, si Pujichinko, hindi ko maibanggit ng tama mga kabdit kasi na-interview siya ni Doc Badoy. Dito mga kabdita, isa rin hong mainit na usapin paglabas ng ating Pangulong Duterte. Alam naman ho natin ito si Pujichinko mga kabdita, hindi ho natin mapuras sa maayos. Alam naman po natin suportado niya si former President at mga kabdita, hinihiling niya dito sa United Nations na mapauwi ng bansa si Fprrd. Kaya mga kabdita, nakakapanlumuho ang nangyayari dito sa ating Pangulong Duterte. Bakit to? Habang kinikilala ho siya ng mga eksperto sa ibang bansa, yung kanyang mga, alam niyo na, mga legacy, mga kapdita, para sa seguridad ng ating bansa, soberanya ng Pilipinas. Dito sa loob ng ating bayan, mga kapdit, tila mabilis ang paglimot at pagtalikod ho sa kanya. Ang pagbabastos ho kasi sa ating Pangulong Duterte, mga kapdit, lantaran ho, mantakin po ninyo kadating niya dyan sa airport, agad ho siyang binastos nito si General Torre. Tignan niyo ho yung naging karma. Naging ano ho siya? Naging ano ho si Torre mga kapatid? Naging general manager. Nawala ho siya sa pagiging 4-star general niya. Di ba? nakakatawa nga ho yan. Yung pag-traitor ho nila dito sa ating Pangulong Duterte, mga kabit. Darating at darating din ho ang kanilang oras. Darating at darating din ho yung mga nambastos sa ating Pangulong Duterte, mga kabit. Ang hukom, mga kabit. Babaliktad at babaliktad kasi bilugo ang mundo. Sige, sabihin na ho natin nakaangat itong administrasyon ni Marcos Jr. Pero oras na dumating na ang 2028, mga kabit, tingin niyo ho ba hindi sila babagsak? Ngayon pa nga lang ho, pinandidirihan ng mga Pilipino. Di ba? Kaya dito, ito nga, pakinggan na lang ho natin itong naging interview ni Doc Badoy dito kay Shunichi Fujiki. Ay, mga kabdita, para reactan na ho tayo. Kaya dito, wala na ho tayong paligoy-ligoy pa. Pakikinggan din ho natin, reactan din ho natin itong naging pahayag ni Kong Ungab patungkol dyan sa, alam niya, pambabanat kay VP Sara. Kaya dito, kung bago na ho kayo sa ating channel, isang like, isang share, isang subscribe lang ho. Malaking tulong na yan. Kaya dito, wala na ho tayong paligoy-ligoy pa.
Duterte at ipinaglaban niya ang karapatan ni Pprrd. Mahalagang mahalaga ito, and we're very grateful that he has given us some time so that we can interview him. Si Fujiki-san ay isang human rights advocate at isang researcher ng Asian history at isa siyang journalist din. So, without further ado, Fujiki-san, maybe you would like to greet first our viewers, no?
Thank you very much for having me to your program.
Yeah.
And I'm very much grateful that so many warm messages were written to my speech or my intervention at the United Nations. So I appreciate to everybody who support my activities.
Yes, Fujiki-san, it has gone crazy viral.
I didn't expect that.
yeah, I know. You didn't expect it, no? It's because, well, it's because you did something very important for the Filipino people. We've been this grave injustice towards a highly beloved president, no?
Agreed.
It no longer is a domestic issue. It is an international issue because it involves now the International Criminal Court, and of course, because it is a crime against humanity, what was done against him by the sitting president Bongbong Marcos. He weaponized the ICC against a highly beloved president, and for political and nefarious reasons. So, Fujiki-san, if you don't mind, how did you find out about this issue?
Oh, very good question. First of all, even after their term, the Duterte administration, he has a great influence over the whole nation compared to the current administration, right?
Yes.
So current administration is very much fear about influence of the Duterte, although Marcos is the president, but still the people are not thinking that he's a legitimate president, although he was elected.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons that Marcos is trying to do something against Duterte. And now Duterte is really facing a hard time. But I think he is aware of it, and he know from the beginning what will be happen. But he put his life on the line for the country. So he's a real man.
Yes,
That's my
correct.
yeah.
Fujiki-san, his war on drugs, which is the point of contention, the issue that was being raised by Bongbong Marcos is actually a legitimate government program that was highly popular, highly successful, so that somewhere like 88 to 96% of Filipinos approved of it, because we really experienced the benefits in our life. For the first time, crime rates were cut into half for the first 6 months.
Yeah. That's great. And I'm taking care of the Filipino community in Japan.
Yes.
Right. And recently they are start saying that we don't want to go back to my home country.
Yeah.
So I asked them why. Then because while the Duterte was in a power, the environment in the country was very safe. Even in the nighttime, working on the street is harmful. But now it's very dangerous, and the murder and killings are going on the street. Although some Japanese are also victimized.
Yes.
So this is a very shameful things for the Philippines, and also Philippines is recently considered as a terrorist supporting nation
Yes.
by
Yes.
Australia. This is totally, wrong, and this is created by the current administration. If the Duterte, Mr. Duterte is in power, then it won't happen. So everybody is scared, and Marcos is scared of Duterte, and the people are scared of going back home. So this is not the normal situation. This is a very, very, very bad circumstance. So we need to, make it back or take the peace back in the country.
Um, Fujiki-san, what makes it even more serious, no, is that
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of serious issues against the ICC now. Recently, there was
Yeah,
an expose by 18 former soldiers who were the bodyguards of the chair of the
yeah,
Appropriations Committee, and the expose involved the exchange of money with the ICC. No, in other
yeah.
words, they were wined and dined to the tune of $2 million. And one other
Mm.
issue, one other issue, Tsukiji, Fujiki, is that the ICC has already been infiltrated by the communist terrorist organization, the CPP-NPA-NDF, which is the 17th deadliest terrorist organization in the world. So that you can see very actively, now very actively, you can see the face of one of their operatives, Christina Conti, and the CPP-NPA-NDF has already, when the ICC members came to the Philippines, they met with the top leaders of this terrorist organization inside prison, and it was arranged by Bongbong Marcos, his administration. So the IC, therefore, the what you did in the UN is very important, because the ICC is now being weaponized against the political foes, the political weapons of sovereign countries, and they take away our sovereignty.
Absolutely.
Fujiki, I loved it so much. We loved it so much when you spoke for us and you mentioned sovereignty. Could you please
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
expound on that?
It's a priority of sovereignty, definitely. Yes, yeah,
Uh,
because Philippine the internal politics of Philippines have to be decided by the Filipino people, not the other other force, right? And they're, as you said, it's a weapon. Totally, they're weaponizing. And you see that President Trump of the United States, he said he will not fund to that, and he will not accept anything, and there is no jurisdiction over the United States. And on the other hand, Putin, President Putin, also wanted 9 judges and prosecutors as a criminal,
yeah.
and he issued an arrest warrant. See, so this is not it's really illegitimate organization. And first of all, uh, I'm going to the United Nations all the time, right? And I bring the issues which is not cannot be solved within the country. Okay, so you have to bring it to the local court first of all. If anything happened, then you have to fight up to the Supreme Court. Even the Supreme Court, the bad decision, then you can bring it to the international body like ICC or Interpol or the United Nations. Right? This is a basic rule. However, the Marcos administration broke this rule. There is no court cases hearings are done in Philippines, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that means Philippine court, no, ICC is superior than Philippine court, right? So that means
Yes.
there is no sovereignty on Philippines. So
Yeah.
Marcos abandoned his sovereignty by himself. This is what I think.
Fujiki, the first characteristic of a sovereign nation is the presence of a strong judiciary. So basically,
Exactly.
what Bongbong Marcos has admitted to the world as, is that there is no existing judiciary in our country that can try our own
Exactly.
citizens. It is such an insult
Yeah.
to this very strong
Insult and
judiciary.
it's a betrayal.
It's a betrayal.
Betrayal for
Yes.
their whole people. Yeah.
Correct. Fujiki, it is at the very heart of it. It is treason. It is a betrayal of the
Mhm.
Filipino people. No, but
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Fujiki, my question to you is, why are you
Mhm.
getting involved? You're not a Filipino. Why does this interest you? Why have you spoken up for us?
Yeah. That's as I said. All of a sudden, the Filipino community in Japan is talking about, we don't want to go back to home country. So that is the worst things because normally, you want to go back because they're the worker working in Japan for their own country, right? Or
Yes.
to take care of their own family in Philippines.
Yes.
This is a very hard things. Some women or a man, they are separated from the family in Philippines and working in Japan for their for family, right? But they say it's really fearful or it's really dangerous to going back home. So I was thinking, we have to do something because they are not proud of their country anymore at this moment.
Yes.
So I've listened a lot of outcries, from the Filipino society in Japan. So I was thinking, what should I do? What can I do? And then, as I said, I'm regularly, 1 year time. Within the 1 year, I'm traveling here in Geneva at least 3 times to 6 times in a year to attend Human Rights Council meetings or treaty bodies meetings. So maybe I can bring it to the attention from the international society, because this should not be happen. And as I said, Bongo Marcos is abandon their own people, their own judicial system, and then just hand it, surrender to the ICC. Okay, so he's saying that what means is he's saying that he just wants to be a leader, but no responsibility. We don't do anything, right?
Yes.
Could we, could,
Fujiki-san,
yes,
Bongbong Marcos did not run to serve the Filipino people. He ran to
I
steal.
understand.
Yeah, he ran to steal from the Filipino people and to stay longer in power than our constitution allows. Also, he
As
is
his
a
father did.
as his father did for over two
Mhm.
decades. And
Right, right,
on top of that, Bongbong Marcos has a substance abuse disorder, a very serious substance
right,
abuse disorder. So he is
right,
not
right,
fit.
right,
He is not fit in any way to lead our country. And
right.
the way I see it, you're having spoken out in an international forum.
Mhm.
Internationalizing this issue is of great value because it really affects the entire world. If you
Yeah.
go to the ICC, you're not going to see Benjamin Netanyahu. You're not going to see Putin, right? You're going to
They're from,
see
they're from,
leaders
yeah,
of African nations and you're going to
yeah,
see Rodrigo Roa Duterte. In other words, there is a colonial bias. No, so
exactly.
right,
Yeah,
so
agree.
it really has nothing to do with justice because they themselves have violated their own laws,
Yeah.
their own rules, the Rome Statute. They
Right, exactly.
violated
Right.
it. Now,
Yes, that's right.
very clearly, the former president didn't face a local court, and he wasn't
Right.
even given a copy of the warrant of arrest of the ICC. All of
Hmm.
this, and he was forcibly pushed inside the plane. No,
I
and
understand. Yeah, as long as Marcos did not give the permission to their law enforcement, then Duterte was not arrested. Means Bongo Marcos accepted or give the order to the authority to arrest him and hand it to the ICC. Correct.
Fujiki, Fujiki,
Yep.
Fujiki-san, the ICC themselves said so. It was Bongbong Marcos, the Marcos administration
Oh,
that surrendered
right, right. Yeah,
an
that's true.
ordinary citizen
Hmm. Hmm.
to them, and they had no choice because he was already there. So it was the Marcos administration that surrendered a Filipino. It's so serious. Fujiki-san, my question to you: would the
Hmm.
Prime Minister of Japan, Sanae Takeuchi, would she
Hmm.
do this? Would she surrender a Japanese citizen?
No, it
If,
will
or
never happen. Never happen.
it
Never
will
happen.
never happen, right? Why
Right,
is that?
right.
Why?
And because we are a sovereign nation, we have a judicial system, and the government have to protect their own people.
This would not have happened, right? Never.
No.
Fujiki-san, after having lived here for a year in Japan, because I am in exile, no.
Okay.
What I've noticed also, a lot of things will not happen in Japan. The theft of trillions, trillions upon trillions of yen by the Marcos administration will not happen here. It will not happen.
Right.
So anyway, what is the next step, Fujiki-san? What happens after this? What can the Filipinos expect after that speech? How
Well,
was it accepted in the UN when you were there after your speech?
I tell you one thing. The worker at the United Nations are not permitted to speak with us. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as there is an authority. Okay. But a couple of Filipino people came close to me and saying thank you and then leave.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now that's the real reaction at the ground, even in the United Nations. So the workers at the United Nations from Philippines always appreciate me. This is not the first time. Actually, I brought issue a couple of, I think last year or before last year, right? About the Philippine attacked by China.
Yes.
Okay, so I brought that brief speech issue in my speech, as along with the other issues. Just I mentioned the Philippines was attacked by the China, and then again some of the workers came and saying that thank you. Then they leave. Means they cannot talk, but they just want to express their appreciation, right? So I found that they are in trouble, real trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that I need to do something. And then this is the first time that I brought mainly for this Philippine issue. That was not the main, but, in the context of the Chinese aggression at the time.
Fujiki-san, you told me a story before we started. You told me about your computer had a glitch. Could you run us by that? Because I'm really surprised because you pulled it off really well. So maybe you can tell our listeners what happened.
Okay. Well, while I had a script to talk, which I made. And normally I open up my computer and based on that, I start speaking it, right? However, in the middle of my speech, okay, intervention, my computer flows. That's not happening in before or after, okay? Even after that, I had two interventions about the Pakistan issue and so on, okay? I'm not only handling the Philippine issue, but some minority people in the Pakistan called Balochistan. Okay, so they are really suppressed by the government and they are killed by the government. So I cannot accept these activities by the government, who has a superpower over their own people. So, and then my computer or software flows. So I was, if you see the video that I posted, it looks somehow it's natural, okay? But if you see the recording from the United Nations, I cut the blank, but there are some blank phrase because I was struggling to put the computer back on work. So that's happened. This is a serious problem I had, but I thought that I need to finish the speech. Otherwise, there is no more chance at the time. So I said to myself, calm down to myself. and then I finished talking.
Fujiki-san, you delivered it really well.
Thank you very much.
It reminds me of the Goethe quote. He said, "Be bold, and mighty forces shall come to your aid." So you delivered it really well. The very important points came out.
Right.
So,
right. But in the future, even in the future, whatever I can do to get Duterte back to home, this is totally inhumane things. Separated from the family, and they are blaming our maybe 1 or 2 years ago, there is a Filipino NGO who are having a side event in the United Nations building. Okay, so I just paid visit there, and then I was listening to what they have to say. And they are saying we are victimized by Duterte because my elder brother was killed by the Duterte administration, and so on and so on. So I question, why your brother was killed, right? And the Duterte made a rehabilitation center or something like that to rehabilitate these drug addict. And he gave them a couple of chances to rehabilitate it, but still they keep on using the drugs. Okay, and that's the consequence they have to face. And to make the other people not to harm the other people, other citizens, majority of the citizens, right? And then I questioned them why. Then they said, my elder brother was killed because of the drug and so on. So I said, who violated? First of all, who violated the law or the law?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
you are now trying to be a victim, but actually, basically, your brother was the offender to the other people.
Yes.
So you have to consider. Don't be, it's kind of hypocrisy of these people. But
So
I cannot accept it as long as your brother did not use the drug, then it didn't happen, right? So you have to think, and you have to apologize to the country that my brother was using illegal drug, so-called illegal drug, right? But they don't feel that way. Oh, my brother was murdered and so on by the Duterte administration. This is wrong. And
because
and also there are some criticisms from the other countries, okay?
yeah.
Because with that trial, some were shot.
Mm.
But if you see the United States, for example, look, they are not bringing the criminal to the justice. They just shoot at the site, right? So it's the same thing. Because in order to protect the majority, sometimes it's happened, and they are the criminals violating the law. So in order to protect the majority or citizen or countryman, then there should be some strong force over the criminals to crack down.
It seems like because PRRD, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, was a man of the law. So if you don't follow
Yeah.
the law, there are consequences, as it ought to be, as it ought to
Mhm.
be. But in other countries, my opinion is that because I go to the US back and forth, no, it's so
Mhm.
heartbreaking to see Skid Row, where you see children, drug addicts, their lives
Right, right,
wasting
exactly.
away. And
Right,
my opinion there is that the government has failed them because they can buy drugs, they can shoot
right.
drugs in front of a police,
Yeah,
and nothing's done. There are no arrests,
right,
there are no
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
rehabilitations,
yeah, yeah,
nothing. No, so
yeah.
and what the enemies of PRRD refuse to discuss are the victims of these drug addicts and these drug lords and these drug syndicates. As a doctor,
Mm,
I can tell you, Fujiki-san, the
yeah.
emergency room before PRRD became president was a bloodbath. You,
Oh,
when a drug addict stabs a
yeah.
baby, it's not just one stab; it's 64 stabs. And they don't want to talk about those things because they have a political agenda against
Yeah.
PRRD. No,
Okay.
so my question to you, Fujiki-san, is
Yeah.
why is it that Japan doesn't have that kind of problem, not in the magnitude that we've seen in other countries?
Ah, that's a good question. Actually it's morality or ethics in the
Morality.
countries, and most importantly, education. So and
Fujiki, I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt because I always ask this question to a lot of my Japanese friends. Why are
mhm.
the Japanese so different? Why are they very moral? No,
Ah,
and it's really the upbringing, the culture, the Bushido, the Buddhism and
mhm.
Shintoism, that sort of thing. It's deeply embedded. No, so go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, I
There are in the world there are three countries which were not colonized by the white power.
yeah. Mm.
Okay, and then the one of the three is Japan.
Mm.
All right. So from the founding of the country till now, we have just one blood, Japanese,
Yeah.
and Emperor is also one blood.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you see their emperor's house or emperor's palace, there is no defense. What can I say? A defense equipment surrounding
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
if
No
we,
palace.
I mean, in France right now, okay, I'm in France. There are some many castles that is standing on the hill on the mountain. Why? Because they fear the enemy. But our emperor doesn't need to fear the enemy because emperor is always playing the peace for the people, peace for Japan, peace for world. Okay, so this is the backbone of the whole Japanese people.
Yeah.
All right. So historically, we listen to what the emperor is playing for, right? And this is emperor is our emperor doesn't have any human rights. Although I am a human rights activist, he doesn't have any choice of the work, any choice of the. He cannot go to the drinking bars freely. He cannot go to see the movie, enjoying the dating and so on. No way. And even he doesn't have passport. No human rights. Okay. Oh, but yet he's praying every day because he's the top of the Shintoism,
Yeah.
right? Just every day, so we know it, and we are very much blessed by emperor and ancestors. So, this is one of the high standard model in Japan, I guess.
Fujiki-san, so what touches me profoundly, no, about the leaders in Japan, the emperor as well as the prime ministers and the ministers,
Mhm.
is their humility. No, they're very
Right,
humble. And of course, their honor, their
right, yeah,
integrity. So my question
that's
to
right.
you, Fujiki-san, is what will happen if one of your leaders was caught stealing, the way Marcos has been caught stealing?
Uh, in that case, we will be our government will use the full force to take them back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
You mean to say, Fujiki-san, because right now in the Philippines, the senators there, Ping Lacson and Tito Soto and the entire government is being
Mhm.
used to cover up for Marcos. Uh, y-
Okay.
so will that happen in Japan? A cover up
No,
of
no, it won't happen.
will not. It's impossible.
Technically, no possible. It's not possible. Corruption. We don't have much corruption. Although there are little corruptions going
Yeah,
on, but once if we find it, then they will be seriously punished in Japanese society. Okay, so mostly corruption is not going on, and also one thing that I have to say, Philippines is a very wealthy nation,
yes,
basically,
I
because
agree.
we have an abundant supply of the minerals,
Yes,
right? Minerals and also natural resources rich.
yes,
If compared to Japan, we don't have any.
yeah,
We all rely on the import, oils and gas and minerals, everything. Okay, so we really envy you. However, the reason why your government or your country is like this situation is because the corruption, only the corruption,
yes,
right? You used to be a very wealthy and also a very hardworking people, and we have so many common with Japanese and Filipinos. Very common a way of thinking, and also you are Christian nation, right? So at least the morality or ethics or learn from the Christians, like even a Catholic or a Protestant, it doesn't matter. The moral standard, the bottom line of the moral standard. So you are very much educated, right? Philippine people are very much educated, yet they cannot get any good return because they're not protected by the government. But while the Duterte administration, Duterte was trying to make a lot of shelters to put those homeless people or poor people to have better life, and that's what he did. And our Abe, Prime Minister Abe was the only world leader, invited to his home. And if we see his home is not like a palace. It's just like a normal home, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he gave he invited Abe a that is very heartwarmed things that they we appreciated President Duterte and
Fujiki-san.
yeah.
Yeah, Fujiki-san. So I want to go back to
Hmm.
the question of corruption in
Yeah.
government, because what we have been exposed to in the Marcos administration is nothing short of shocking. Really shocking. The depth and what I noticed about the Japanese
Hmm.
people is your capacity to feel shame.
Oh
No.
yeah, that's true.
And what I see now with the ones who are seated in power in this Marcos administration is their total and complete incapacity to feel shame. And I read somewhere, and I agree, that the capacity to feel shame presumes an ounce of nobility, some nobility in you. So if you don't have any nobility, you will not have any capacity for shame.
Right,
So
exactly. Yeah,
this is what
agreed.
what really amazes me living here in Japan, is that it's
Mhm.
so consistent. We in the Philippines, because in the Philippines, Fujiki-san, it's become normal to criticize people in government as being corrupt, and it is
Mhm.
true. It is true, but Filipinos, ordinary citizens, are also corrupt. Otherwise, I believe that your leaders are a reflection of who you are. So I don't want to waste this opportunity that has cost us so much pain of
Oh
having
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
worst
Understood.
the worst example of a human being to lead us. I think
Mhm.
that it is a reflection of who we are as a people.
Right.
What amazes me about the Japanese people is the Japanese society is that it is not money driven. It
Yeah,
is
but
all.
every country person, country man and women need to try to make the country better. Okay. For
Yes.
example, in the case of Philippines, for example, if you are caught or by police by over speeding, okay. So normally we get a ticket, whatever the situation is, we get a ticket and we have to pay the penalty, right? And we cannot give any money to the police officer,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
But
Right.
in Philippine, you can just hand over their money to the officer. Then the officer closes their eyes,
Yeah.
and then children are watching it. My parents are paying the money, while overspeeding, and then that's it, right? So this
Yes.
is a kind of education to the kids, and when the kids becomes adult, again the kids do the same. So you have to stop that kind of habit to a certain point, right? Because bribery is the worst things, and your wealthy country became corrupt country right now. So I feel really bad. So education is the most important things. Even you started right now, it's gonna affect after 20 years, 30 years. But if you don't start it now, then it will not happen in the future.
So,
Right?
Fujiki-san, may I please go back to the speech in the UN? Okay.
Oh, okay.
How did
Yep.
it happen? How did it happen that you could speak there? And why did?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I've been participating to the United Nations Human Rights Council as well as the treaty bodies meeting because Japan was attacked by China and Koreans and North Koreans and so on in the historical issues, which actually did not happen according to my investigation, but they are using United Nations as a weapon and tool to attack Japan. So I was thinking, what's going to happen? Then I traveled to the United States National Archive to see the documents during the World War II,
Mm.
and like a comfort women issue. Okay, there is it, and some people left the comment, and this guy is the comfort women denier. I'm not
Yeah.
denying the comfort women. Okay, they are existing. I did not deny the existence of the comfort women, and at that time, if you see their past things by current eyes, then so many weird things happen, right? So there are comfort women existing. However, they are not a sex slave. They are well-paid prostitute, even from the National Archive official document from the United States.
Yeah.
But they changed the narrative to attack Japan so that they use the slave with the word slave. Okay, so in that case, in United Nations, we have white guys, black guys. They are very sensitive about the word slave. Okay,
Yes.
so that's why they took it very seriously.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened was that the Duterte term, okay, when the Duterte was in the office, there was a comfort woman statue elected in part of the Manila, okay, and Prime Minister Abe requested this is not accurate. The what is mentioned on the plaques is not accurate. They are not the sex slave. They are sex workers. Okay, well-paid sex workers. So please remove it. So, and the Duterte said one day in the night time that was removed by somebody. And then the reason was, oh, there is we have to do some construction on the gas. So this is what the President Duterte did. And, we applauded President Duterte because he did the right thing, right? And then also, then I
Fujiki-san,
was, yeah.
may I interrupt about that issue, the comfort women issue?
Mhm.
This is where the CPP, NPA, NDF, the terrorist organization, has a front. It's called Gabriela. Gabriela is in
Gabriela.
front of the terrorist organization, and they radicalized the youth so that they can
Yeah,
recruit them into the armed conflict. So this
I
is one
see.
of their issues. This is one of the issues that they brought out, and
Ah,
they really agitated the youth so much so that they could recruit and so that they could raise funds, and they were able to. There were some reparations made, but when it was time to, they got the funds, but they did not give it to the supposed victims that they used.
yeah,
And they
exactly.
are they are the very ones behind the extraordinary rendition of PRRD, using the war on drugs, even making stories up. It's the same pattern. It's the same pattern. When I was working in the government, I also had to go to the UN. I spoke there about the CPP, NPA, NDF, and we saw with our very own eyes the propaganda that there was 27,000 EJKs, deaths by the war on drugs. But now look, they're now in the Hague, and they can't even come up with 50. Okay, so they hyperinflate, and it's the same
Right.
thing. It's the same thing that they've done to this issue. Like you said, no, we're not denying that it happened, but they definitely lied about a lot of things to
Exactly.
inflame
Yeah.
so that they could recruit, and then so that they could get some funds, because this
Yeah.
organization is one of the biggest criminal syndicates in the world.
Okay.
And they are also, Fujiki-san, they are also inside the United Nations. They sit
Right.
them
Yeah.
and they represent the Philippines, and then they say all sorts of lies about the Philippine government so that they can recruit, and they can. But the sad thing is, no, the sad thing is the United Nations believes them. No, because they've been
Yeah. Yeah.
because they the deception is so complete, because they've been taking care of this relationship for a very long time. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, yeah. That's because of it's a weak point of the United Nations. They hire their so-called special rapporteur, means special
Yes.
reporter for United Nations, but that is appointed individually, not in a group of people. Okay, so if you bribe these people, then they will write something, whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
So this is happening, and then committee members or the council members, they're changing all of the every 2 years, 3 years, right? So if somebody's bringing the comfort women issue, then they will bring back to the old document and saying that this is a sex slave, or they were tortured by the Japanese military and so on, right? So even after so many years, their narratives doesn't change because of this old document that they created,
Yeah.
purposely created,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then after that, yes, so what you said is really right, and that the mechanism of the United Nations. So I totally agree what you're saying, and after that, I found so many issues which is not the past issue. Comfort woman issue is happened during the war, right? World War II, up to 1945. But
Yes.
there are so many, like CPP, there are so many peoples involved in the United Nations much prior that we start going there. Since 40 years ago, Japanese left-wingers or Koreans and Chinese, certain part of the, those forces were in the United Nations, and they have office close to the United Nations too, to make a lobbying, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
who is supporting this money, right?
yes,
I'm coming to the United Nations by my own
right,
expense,
yes.
own expense. Okay, of course, I have some small supporters, so they are supporting, but not much amount.
Yeah.
However, because of the justice have to be, maintained. That's the reason why I start coming and keep on coming here over 12 years right now, right? By my own expense, and especially at this time,
Therefore,
is
therefore,
yeah,
therefore, Fujiki-san, what you're saying is, no, it's of great value that your voice is heard, that you're there, because otherwise
thank you.
there won't be any counter narratives, because
Exactly, yeah,
a lot of people that go there, for instance, the CPP, NPA, NDF, a terrorist organization, is deeply invested in sitting there so that it legitimizes all their lies, right? So, and where do they get their funding, right? What you're
right, right.
saying.
Yeah, okay, I will tell you one thing. Okay, yesterday we had a side event in the United Nations. Right, we hold event, and about the Okinawa issue. Okinawa is island, southern West Island,
Yes.
and now the certain group of people are trying to put Okinawa into the decolonization list. So they now saying that Okinawa is the colony of Japan. So we brought there is formerly they are called Ryukyu Kingdom. So there was a king. Okay, so and then their narrative is that Japan was forcefully annexed or conquered the Ryukyu. So we took the descendant of the king
Mm,
at this time, the no attorney of the king,
mm,
as well as their local assembly members and the pastor of the Christian church, leader of the pastors, and to counter them. And then while we're having a side event, there is one Chinese lady in the room. Okay, definitely she's part of the Chinese government. Each time when I hold the side event, there is definitely Chinese monitoring it, and sometimes they question us. All
mm,
right. So we witnessed it, and there definitely we before we saw she opened a computer, and she has a kind of a chat app. Okay, chatting with somebody, and she's reporting who talked, what. Okay, that's what happened. And also, whenever I comes to Geneva, I need to stop over one place. Okay, it means I have to transfer. And each time when I go through the immigration, I'm stopped and brought to the interrogation room for about 15 minutes every time. The reason is because on the year of 2020, Xi Jinping of China was trying was asking the Japanese government to invite him as a state guest,
mm,
right? And so I totally leave. Abe was Abe administration at that time, and then I found I got the information that Xi Jinping will coming to Japan as a state guest. So I made a speech as I did it today, the 11th of March. We Japanese are not welcome to having Xi Jinping as a state guest. He can freely come to Japan without any trouble and to discuss with the government. However, state guest is meaning different. He's going to see the emperor of Japan and shake hand with the emperor. So I said, this bloodthirsty hand should not be touched to our emperor, because they are murdering, taking, they are harvesting the internal organ of the Falun Gong practitioners or Uyghurs and Tibet and so on. Okay, this is the human rights violation, typical human rights violation committed by the Chinese government. So we don't want, nobody wants, the Japanese don't want to come, the Xi Jinping to have a state guest. All right. So after I spoke it started. Okay. And I asked my government, well, how it's happened. Then maybe China is registered you as a criminal, or, not the wanted person, but investigate a little more further. Okay, so I told the government, can you nullify it? And the government said no, because if the other way around, for example, Japanese wants to have a Chinese to be investigated, and if the Chinese government can nullify it, then nothing, this is meaningless. So we cannot do. And then I asked the security officer in the Amsterdam how it's happened. And then he said, this is not the request from the Dutch government, but the foreign government. Okay. And then he explained to me that it will be continued. When will it be end? Then he said it will be continued for a year, because this validity is for a year. But if this country who reported is renewed again, then you will be on the list forever. So I'm on the list, and I'm always interrogated. So I need to show my badge to accredited badge, ECOSOC badge to the officer, and also I present the documents and what I'm doing. Right. So this is an intimidation. Also, this is also crime against humanity.
Yeah.
They are violating the human rights of me. But we have to stand strong, and I don't care even. And one day, I'm in an apartment right now. Okay, I rent an apartment, but in a couple of years ago, I rented another apartment, and then there is after I rent a place, somebody broke into the house and then put the three surveillance camera, very small one, into my room. Okay, then I have a very good friend here who is he's a kind of intelligent person. Okay, working for the intelligence. And in a Sunday, I invited him to my apartment, and then first thing that he said is, "Shun, don't you feel very weird because there are three clocks which is exactly same model? One is in the kitchen, two is in a different angle at the living room." So I didn't think anything wrong, but yes, after he told me that, oh my gosh, this is a 3D. Normally we don't buy the same clock. Each room has a different clock, right? Then I found there is a digital clock like this shape, and then I turn it over. There is a SD card in it.
Wow.
Right? So everything's recorded. Then I brought it to the police in Geneva police, and then the criminal was arrested. So this is happening around me, right? So always intimidated.
Fujiki, this is the life that you've chosen. So right
Yeah,
now,
that's right.
there are already reports by the Marcos trolls that your your speech in the UN never happened. No, that,
Yeah, generated. Yeah, and the AI. Actually, you're talking to the AI, okay? Generated
they
guy,
said that
Android.
uh, so I'd like you to clarify, because they're claiming that there is no official UN record. Is this true or
There is
there
those
is?
people must be really ignorant. For example, if you go to the if you go to the UNTV, for example,
I
okay,
know.
just type UNTV, and there is a search box. Just type my name. So many videos that I spoke at the United Nations is come up, right? So they must be
Yeah, no.
stupid and ignorant.
Yes, yes. The market is really stupid people, diba? It's not. That's the audience. And
I
then
found
number two, yeah,
I found very amusing is that the person who is supporting Duterte is writing in Japanese or English, okay, and the anti-Duterte people are always writing in Tagalog. That's it. I can see the difference.
one other thing, the other claim is that there is no verified identity of Shunichi Fujiki. So
No,
maybe you need to
I'm
say
not
hello to
existing.
them.
I'm not existing, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a phone. So this is the world. This is the life that you've chosen,
Yeah,
Fujiki.
yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah,
we have
I'm okay.
uh,
This is my accredited card for United
yeah,
Nations, right?
yeah,
This one. So without this, we cannot get in, first of all. And
yeah,
without permission, we cannot talk, right?
yes, yeah.
Okay,
So
so this is what
Fujiki,
it is. Yeah.
yeah, Fujiki, we're about to wrap up, no? But
Okay.
before we wrap up, I would like to say, in behalf of the Filipino people, thank you. And I think in behalf of humanity, thank you for speaking up for us. No? Thank you for
You're very welcome.
for for a for a president, maybe the only Filipino president who never stole from us and who served us really well.
Yeah, that's
Highly
true.
beloved, highly
Right.
beloved of the
Yeah,
Filipino people, and he doesn't deserve what he's getting right now. No? So,
exactly.
in behalf
But
of the
he put
Filipino,
his
yeah, go
he
ahead.
put his life on the line to renew the country. Okay, so he's a brave man, and he knows the consequences from the beginning. But he's a real man, and he's trying to protect and dedicate it whole Filipino people. So
You know
this
what?
is a brave man.
Yeah, you know what, Fujiki-san, no? I worked
Yeah.
with him. So he would have speeches where he would say, when I step down, they're going to come after me. But
Mm.
but he said, but I don't care. I'll do what I need to do. So he is
Right.
a real
Right.
man. No? So
Yeah, that's his choice.
yes. So any parting words, Fujiki-san, anything you'd like to say to the Filipino people who truly
Yeah.
love you and are truly
Yeah.
grateful for you?
Yeah. This time after my intervention at the United Nations, overwhelming support from the Filipino people, which I really appreciated. And so I hope the Filipino people need to stay strong and unite each other, and then help this helpless president Duterte to get to the home. This is things that so that we can. This is a democratic nation, democratic society, but democracy is now in danger. So only thing that you can do, the Filipino people can do, is to maintain the democracy. Okay, so the demand. I think we need to pull the current president down because he's the enemy of Filipino people, and he's soiling the name of Great Philippine. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say to the Philippine people. And really, we love the Philippine people. Okay, he is very kind. They are very kind and also very well, very hardworking people. So we have so many similarity, very similar. Okay, Taiwan is also very similar to Japan, but the Philippines is also very similar because we are neighboring country. So we have to unite each other. And also, one more thing, we are not having a nuclear weapon. You don't, and Taiwan don't, Korea don't. We should unite to protect ourselves because we are surrounding in a very hostile nations like China, Russia, even the United States or North Korea. Okay, so we are the peace-loving country, and as well the you are, right? So we have to unite, and Asian we are Asian people, so we need to unite together. And our Philippines also unite very strongly to protect their liberty and also democracy. That's my message to the Philippine people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fujiki-san.
You're welcome.
I hope we can invite you again. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Mabuhay
thank you very
ka.
much. Yeah,
Mabuhay ka.
thank you. Thank you to having me. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Sa kanyang programa nga no, Kong, noong nakaraan na episode ay sinabi ikinuwento ni Vice President Sara Duterte yung timeline of events kung paano po nabuo yung impeachment, no? At nasabi niya na ilang beses siyang dumalo sa mga pagdinig sa Kamara, pero pag nandun siya, hindi naman siya tinatanong kaugnay sa issue. Kaya marapat niyang sinagot yung mga issue na yon at naka-timeline pa. Gaano kahalaga Kong na may ganyong platform ang Vice President na hindi hostile na ipapaliwanag niya yung kanyang panig on national TV?
Well, if you will notice from the start, since simula ng mga quantum, it's really designed to demolish the Vice President. Kita mo yung demolition job, grabe. Grabe yung kanilang media campaign sa mainstream media, sa social media. Hindi pa nga lumalabas yung mga responses, hindi pa lumalabas yung formal reply, yung formal investigation, katakot-takot na accusations doon sa iba-ibang hearings sa Committee on Appropriations, pagdating sa Quadcom. Ang dami ng accusations doon, no? So, and these are mere accusations, insinuations, innuendos. Walang proof, walang final judgment, walang concrete evidence of a crime made or conjectures. So where does this go? Elimination of a very strong candidate in 2028. We see the vice president here. She has the highest number of votes in the last 2022 elections, even higher than the votes of the President of the Republic. The President got 31 million votes. The Vice President Sara got 32 million votes. So makita natin yung credibility niya, yung mandate niya sa taong bayan, mas mataas. At saka hindi lang yan, nakikita natin yung kanyang trust and approval ratings na pinakamataas siya, trust and approval rating sa lahat ng public officials. And you are going to impeach somebody who has a very, very high trust and approval ratings, even higher than the president, higher than the Senate president, higher than the Speaker of the House or Chief Justice. So pinakamataas talaga si Vice President Sara Duterte in terms of approval at trust rating. Hindi lang yan. Lahat ng surveys na lumalabas para 2028, even though this early, lumalabas na siya ang front runner, siya ang top notcher. Kaya makikita mo talaga na demolition job itong ginagawa. Wala silang pwedeng mailabas na kalaban na malakas for 2028. So demolish na. So they try to remove her by impeachment kasi ang plano talaga nakikita mo na gusto nila i-disqualify siya para hindi na siya eligible to run for public office, particularly in 2028. But sa tingin ko, MJ, kahit saan ka pupunta ngayon, yung taong bayan, very much aware. Thank you very much for SMNI. Maraming salamat sa mga social media activists natin, yung mga vloggers na lumalabas palagi at sinasabi yung totoo, no? Nakikita natin yung taong bayan nagsasalita na talaga ngayon, nakikita nila yung nangyayari, nakikita nila yung ginagawa kahit hindi pinipick up ng bayaran media. Nakikita natin pinapasa-pasa na yung mga pinapasa na yung mga important na mga video, important news items, news articles. So makita natin na aware ang taong bayan sa mga nangyayari. Saka hindi lang yan, makikita natin sa mga news items, news articles sa Facebook, sa YouTube, sa social media, TikTok, yung mga likes. Makita mo yung likes saka yung ano ba yun, yung laughing pinagtatawanan yung mga press release, yung press releases, no? Kikita natin yung kung ano na yung totoong sentimento ng taong bayan.
Opo. Kong, binanggit po ninyo ang katagang totoong sentimiento. Ano ba talaga totoong sentimiento sa House of Representatives? Incumbent member po kayo ng 28th Congress. Ang inyo pong mga assessment ngayon, malamang, ganun din po siguro ang tingin ng mga nasa HREP. Pero ano ba what's the real score, sir, inside?
Ambivalent ang feeling ng karamihan ng mga congressman. Kung ang congressman ay makikinig lang sa taong bayan, ang ibig kong sabihin yung boses ng mga tao na kanilang re-represent. So I urge the members of the House, kahit yung mga senador natin, during the break, meron kaming tinatawag na Lenten break, March to May pagbalik namin. Consult your constituents. Makikita natin na yung mga constituents, ang approval ratings ni Vice President mataas talaga. Hindi sila naniniwala dito sa mga accusation. And remember, she has 32 million votes. We or you cannot disenfranchise the 32 million voters. Tatandaan talaga kayo niyan ng mga botante pagdating ng panahon. Whether you like it or not, yung mga botante na bumoto kay Vice President Sara Duterte na gusto niyong i-impeach, kung ano man ang boto niyo, makikita yan ng taong bayan. At makita natin ang kanyang trust ratings at approval ratings more than 50%, it's 54%. In other words, more than one half of the population, based on the representative samples, approve of her performance, approve of what she is doing. So ang trust rating niya mataas, no, as compared to the other officials. So why would you impeach her? Saka again, yung impeachment, hindi hindi pa proven criminal cases or I would say serious offenses, serious cases, or impeachable offenses. Puro accusation pa na kailangan pang i-prove. Kulang yung mga ebidensya na pinapakita. So, I believe yung mga tao is closely watching what's happening. So, darating ang araw, meron pa ring verdict yan pagdating sa kabutuhan ngayon.
Opo, let's make it more personal, Kong, kasi si VP Sara Bisaya. Visayan-speaking people are found in Visayas and Mindanao. Tapos pag may congressman na hindi nakinig sa pulso ng kanyang mga constituents, may it be a party list or a district representative, gaano kalaking setback yon na ang isang usa ka Bisaya ang congressman moboto pabor i-impeach ang usa ka Bisaya. Kong, as a Bisaya yourself, anong tingin mo dun, sir?
Actually, marami na akong naririnig, no? Hindi lang dalawa, tatlo, or apat. I think more or less malapit na sa plus minus 10 na nagsasabi na grabe ang sentimento ng kanilang mga constituents sa kanilang mga distrito, all out support. So, yung iba think twice na kung itutuloy ba nila yung pagsuporta o hindi sila susuporta sa impeachment. But I heard this kasi nasa session hall ako at saka nung Lunes pumunta ako sa Dodge. Nagpagkwentuhan ako sa mga congressman. Malakas yung kwento na yung NPC, Nationalist People's Coalition, nag-meeting daw last week, parang Thursday. At napag-usapan nila, majority daw ayaw nang sumuporta doon sa impeachment. Ganon din narinig natin nung presko nung NUP, no? And I hear there's another party na gusto na rin pumatras. So, it could be possible na pagbalik namin, mahihirapan silang kunin yung 106 votes. Let us say, kung i-pressure talaga ng admin, maglabas na naman sila ng incentives, maglabas sila ng benefits, kukumbinsin nila yung mga congressman na bumoto, lalo na yung may mga kaso. So I think baka makakuha pa sila but they will not get the same votes as last year na umabot sila ng 200 votes. Ay marami na ngayon ang nagigising. So I believe the voice of the people will be heard, especially during these times. This is a very, very important crucial moments in the history of the Philippines. Ngayon pa na mayroong crisis sa Middle East. Ngayon pa na mas kailangan natin yung unity ng ating bayan to face the problems, to solve the problems. Hindi pwede magwatak-watak. At saka yung pinakamataas pa ng approval ratings, yun pa ang i-impeach. That's not good for our democracy. So, para sa akin, very unproductive itong ginagawa ngayon na impeachment para kay Vice President Sara Duterte.
Sir, sinabi po ninyo crucial times ang ngayon, no? Ang mga panahon ngayon. Crucial times na lumipat ng bakod, Kong?
What I mean yung crucial times in terms of the economic stability of the world and of our country. Kasi sa nangyayari ngayon diyan sa Middle East, 20% ng oil dumadaan diyan sa Strait of Hormuz. Sarado na, close yung Strait of Hormuz. We do not know how long the United States and Israel spent on pursuing the war in Iran. At saka parang ganun na rin yung Iran. I just hope that the more developed countries will prevail. Kasi habang tatagal yan, in a prolonged, protracted war, walang mananalo diyan. Lugi yung buong sambayanan, lugi yung buong mundo niyan. In terms of economic benefits, babagsak yung ekonomiya. At saka tayo, we are not rich. Mas maraming apektado na nga yung mayayaman na bansa. Tayo pa kaya. So I said, crucial moment because we need unity now. We need to address the number one problem, which is the economic crisis, economic problem. Pag umakyat every day, every week yung presyo ng langis, aakyat na rin lahat yan. So this is not the time to be divisive. This is not the time to impeach uh, a very credible public official who has the highest trust and approval ratings among the public officials. Pera saway kung sa Bisaya, pera ano bang tawag doon? It is not that I am criticizing so much